in advance, I had a way better handout than this, but unfortunately, my mom was sick, so decided to format everything, and I spent the whole last night and this morning putting things together. So, as you all know, my name is Dephiny and I'm studying Foundation Marine Science degree at Falmouth Marine School. And my project proposal is settlement recruitment of sessile marine invertebrates onto artificial substrata, suspended in water column within the Pearl Estuary. So the location would be situated by the Falmouth Harbour Commission's yacht haven. So that's what we decided to go. I've already visited them and talked about the site, so I'm going to put in the panels. So the overview. Many studies demonstrate the material of substrata, e.g. clay, sandstone, plastic, and fiberglass, to determine the settlement of different assemblages. Anderson and Adderwood 1994 illustrate how many species, including barnacles and oysters, recruit in larger numbers on concrete or plywood rather than fiberglass or aluminium. The aim of this project is to research the effect of different artificial substrata on settlement recruitment of sessile marine invertebrates. The pontoons benefit by being isolated from the seafloor, decreasing the chances of benthic predation. Hence, we have lots of sessile organisms onto the panels because we actually provide the substrates for them to grow on. Otherwise, they won't be growing out of thin air. The multivariate analysis showed assemblages on different substrata were significantly different after 1 or 2 months of submersion, but became more similar after long periods. So basically, when we put in the panels into the water, the first day or hour or so that happens into the panels is the biofilms. That's the fundamental foundation of how all these sessile invertebrates grow onto the panels, or let me say, attach themselves and settle onto the panels. Thus, indicating that the nature of the substratum can affect both initial colonization of particular species and the development of the assemblages over a period of time. So some of my key referencing that I'll be using is past journals. This is a well-trodden pathway of panels. Everyone's been doing panels over the years, from anti-fouling to materials to panel sizes. So I'll also be using textbooks, ebooks, websites, and from my advisors, Colin, Craig, and Luke, with more information because I've had past experiences with other students doing similar projects. My materials I'll be using, I decided to use smaller size of the panels because initially, over my investigation and research, I didn't find any relation to the size panels, how it would affect if I changed it. So usually 17 by 17 centimeter or 15 by 15, but then it occurred problems like it snapped out because it was too heavy, so much organism growing onto them. Hence I decided to decrease panel water size. I'm going to use bare aluminium, marine plywood. I'm also going to get the GPS of the location where I'm going to set up the panels. We'll be using industrial methylated spirit solution, ethanol, to preserve panels because over the years, as I said, former students used panel projects and they went to the pontoons, took out the samples at the end of the year, and then took out literally an hour looking at the invertebrates and say, oh, this is a sponge, without actually knowing if it's a sponge or not. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick up the species from the pontoon sites and drag them onto the lab, and I'll follow on and explain to you later on about that. The organizations I'm going to be using is Falmouth Harbour Commissions, the Marine Biological Associations, JNCC, National Marine Aquarium, Environmental Agency, and the World Trust. They have all done something associated with the panels over the past, from anti-fouling to sizes to different materials. So this is some of my associated research and recommendation. The first one, therefore, Anderson and Underwood illustrates how many species, including barnacles and oysters, recruit larger numbers in concrete and plywood rather than fiberglass and aluminium. Hence, I'll be using plywood and aluminium, and also I'll be using polypolypropylene panels. That's what they have been using in the past, but I'm using that as a control rather than one of my main investigations. So I'll be seeing how much of the species grow on the plywood, how much grow on the aluminium, and I'll compare it with the polypropylene panel, because that's what they use most of the times, but they don't use other different materials. So this is the methodology I'll be following through. And once I've taken the samples from the pontoon onto the lab, I'll be using the ethanol to preserve it and also to put it in a dark area in the freezer. So over time I can have my own space, look through the microscope, have journals and textbooks, and just identify them over the 2 month period. Stats I'll be using is a number. So I can compare the mean averages between 3 different panel materials that I'll be using. Ethical review. Well, for this experiment, due to the nature of the survey, many individuals, i.e. acidians and sponges, will still be in their juvenile state. So it's quite hard to know whether they're going to die or not. So it really might not affect much of them if they are in their juvenile state. Schedule of operations. My initial idea was to do a set of the panels after every 3 months, but as you go along, I've found out that time is not my side. So I'll be doing after every 2 months, I'll be taking out a set of 3 panels of the aluminium, plywood, and the polypropylene, then taking them to the lab, preserving them, then over the 2 month period, I'll be analyzing them. I've done a Gantt chart to show the progression of my project planning from summer. And that's the time scale as well. The contingency plan would be to look at the correlation also to do with tidal flows that also comes with within the sessile invertebrates along the marinas. Okay, any questions?
I really find the approach that you're taking where you're going to use small panels that are physically removed to do the gas, that's really fantastic idea. But how do you think that your project, how could your project impact upon the industry? What sort of findings are you going to have that could be of use to the industry?
Yeah, first of all, it's like where I'm going to be setting up the panels is where we do recreational stuff, like there's powerboating, the sailing, and all those other stuff. If this project is successful, it will tell us which materials to use or not to use onto the recreational materials, like the powerboats and stuff, and to see whether or not what we are using is the one that's causing all these environments to be here, or is it the marinas itself that's causing the tidal flow movement of the currents. We have the closed marinas and the open marinas, so I'll use that indicator to see whether all the materials is affecting all that.
Fantastic. Good. Questions, guys?
Yeah, I saw on one of your slides that the growth area for the lower bay and is between June and September.
Yeah.
That won't be the case in this project, will it?
No, it won't. Hence, I'm going to be looking at it throughout the winter season rather than the summer period. Hence, it's going to be a juvenile state that I'll be taking it from, instead of searching them onto the pontoon areas like what previous students have done, I'll actually be taking it into the lab and analyzing it with microscopes, and we've actually been looking through it other than just have random guesswork saying that's an acidian sponge, or let me put this to my data set, because it won't make any much effort into making a project by guessing, having guesswork at the end of the year. Because what they've done is set up pontoons and get the results at the end of the year, but I'll be taking them after every 2 months, a set of it. So the other set is going to be there for 4 months, and the last set is going to be there for 6 months. So the first 2 sets will be out there for 2 months.
So although you're sampling in the winter, which isn't really the second time, you're able to bring the panel back and look for almost juvenile species on that point of settling, which is something we haven't been able to do before.
Yeah.
And obviously the Farm Farm Commissioner at the moment is still involved in the dredging thing going on. How are they involved in the project? Are you kind of having to up your game to use professionally, or is your study being used with a wealth of other studies that you've done?
Well, my project at the point of it being a marine science-based point of view, I've already had a talk with them, and I've told them how to work with the industries with the recreational center wise. So I have both positive and negative ways on how we can like progress the material planning of the recreational center, so we can like try to make it better.
Okay, yeah.
So just one more, your hypotheses then.
My hypothesis is that we're not going to have significant difference across the board, as we're looking at the juvenile stage of this section. It's the winter period. So in other words, if my project is a success, then another student taking place would benefit from doing seasonal, summer, winter, autumn, spring, to have a new progression. So I'll be setting the foundation by starting the winter period and see where it goes from there.
Cool. Thank you, Dave.